Hi, preschool friends. This week we've been talking about water and the different ways that it changes. So far, we've learned about evaporation and freezing water. Now we're going to learn about melting ice. So, yesterday we stuck some ice cube trays of water in the refrigerator and one in the freezer, and then we waited to see which one made the water cold enough to freeze it or turn it solid. We found out that the freezer makes water cold enough to freeze the water and it turns to ice. So today we're going to talk about melting ice. Melting is when the solid ice turns back to liquid water. So we are going to do an experiment and we are going to put 4 different ice cubes out with different materials to see which one melts the fastest. Let's get started. You can see that I have the experiment set up on the counter and I have 4 bowls: salt and ice, water and ice, sugar and ice, and just plain ice. What we're going to do is put an ice cube in each of the bowls and then add the different materials. We're then going to make a prediction about which ice cube we think is going to melt the fastest. A prediction is a really good guess about what we think is going to happen. I'm going to check in on the ice cubes a few different times through the rest of the day, and we'll be able to make observations. Observations is when you look at the ice really closely to see what's happening, and that will be able to help us determine if your prediction was right. And by the end, we'll know which ice cube is melting the fastest. So we're going to put an ice cube in each of the bowls. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to add the different materials. So we have salt. This is something you might put on your food at home or your mom or dad while they're cooking. And then we have liquid water, and we're going to dump it in our frozen water. And then we have some sugar. Sugar is also something that you might use while cooking. And we're going to sprinkle that on top of our ice. And then the last one, we're just going to leave it a plain ice cube. So we have our plain ice, our sugar and ice, our water and ice, and our salt and ice. So right now it's 1:30 and we're going to check it every 15 minutes to see how they're changing. See you in 15 minutes. Hi everyone, it's been about 15 minutes since I put the different things on our ice, and you can see that they have already started to change. Our salt and ice is starting to melt. It's got like little holes where the salt has went down inside of the ice. Our water and ice is completely melted. Our sugar and ice looks kind of similar to the salt and ice. You can see the little holes where it's kind of melting in. And then we have just our plain ice. So far we know after 15 minutes, the fastest melting ice was the water and ice. It's completely gone. So we're going to keep going for a little bit longer to see if we can find out anything else or make any more observations about what we see. I'll check back in soon. It's been about 15 minutes again since we checked the ice, so we're going to make some more observations. Here's the salt and ice. You can see that the salt has melted through a good part of the ice, and it's melting. The water and ice was already gone. The sugar and ice looks pretty similar to the salt and ice. It looks like it's kind of doing the same thing to it. And then we have our plain ice. Right now, it looks like our plain ice is melting the next fastest. What I don't know for sure is if the sugar in ice or the salt in ice is melting faster. So I went and got a scale so that we could weigh the two pieces of ice. So I got the balance scale, and we're going to put one in each side to weigh them. The heavier one we'll know is the bigger piece of ice and is melting slower. So I'm going to put the salt and ice in this side. See, it went down, and that side's up. We know which one is heavier when whichever side goes down. So we put the salt and ice in that one, and we're going to put the sugar and ice in that side. And then once it stops moving, we'll know which one is heavier. It's almost done. So they are definitely very close. So they're melting pretty close to the same. But see this line right here? It's on this side a little bit. That means the red one is down just a little bit further. So that would mean that the salt in ice is melting a little bit faster than the sugar. So I'm going to put them back in the containers, and we'll look at our final results. So our water and ice melted the fastest, and then our plain ice just with the air would be the next fastest, and then our salt and ice would be next, and our sugar and ice would be the slowest. So our fastest melting ice was the water and ice, and our slowest melting ice was the sugar and ice. So now I want you to think about your predictions. Were you right? Did you predict which one was going to melt the fastest? I was actually incorrect on my prediction. I predicted that the salt in ice would melt the fastest, but it was really the water and ice. What I would love for you to do is take this opportunity to think of some other things that you could put ice in and test your own experiment. I would love to see comments about it, or videos, or pictures. Let me know what you come up with. See you next time.